You know that moment when your whole world ends, and you think, well, at least it can't get any worse. Yeah, I should have known better. Because the last thing I saw before I died was Ethan Carter walking away with another woman. She was everything I wasn't: gentle, sweet, the kind of girl who'd make old ladies coo and businessmen sigh about a good wife. And Ethan looked at her the way I used to dream he'd look at me. I'd chased him for years, from high school to college, from casual glances to a ring on my finger that meant nothing. I told myself it was love. Everyone else called it obsession. Maybe they were right. Because when his car disappeared into the night with her beside him, I finally realized he never loved me. He never even tried to. And yet, even with tears blurring my eyes, I got into my car and drove. Fast, stupid, heartbroken. The world blurred into streaks of light and rain until I heard the horn, the screech. And then nothing. Silence. If heartbreak had a sound, it would have been that silence. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in a hospital. No white lights, no angels, just my bedroom. My perfectly pink, disgustingly expensive Celia Addams bedroom. I blinked up at the chandelier. Oh my God, I whispered. Am I in hell? But then I sat up and froze. Everything was the same. The perfume bottles, the photo frames, the date on my phone. I was alive. Actually, no. I wasn't just alive. I was back. Same life, same engagement to Ethan Carter, same cursed timeline. Only this time, I knew exactly how it ended. Okay, I muttered, packing the room. Breathe, Celia, don't panic. You've been given a second chance. That's good, right? Except it was. Because I wasn't reborn as some saint or heroine. I was still me, the villainous fiancée. The girl everyone said was a gold digger. The one who'd humiliated herself chasing a man who didn't want her. The one who died pathetic and alone. Oh, fantastic, I sighed. The universe looked at my misery and said, encore. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A notification. ETHAN Carter, dinner tonight. Don't be late. Dinner. Right, the dinner where he'd stare at me like I was a business liability. In the old timeline, I'd spent an hour picking the perfect dress, practiced smiling in the mirror, told myself maybe this time he'd see me. He never did. But this time, I stared at the screen and smirked. Oh, Ethan Carter, you have no idea what's coming for you. Because I wasn't the same Celia Addams anymore. This time, I wasn't going to beg for his love. I wasn't going to cry over his indifference. I was going to live my life, make my own name, and let him wonder why the girl who used to orbit around him suddenly started shining on her own. And maybe, just maybe, when he finally looks my way, I'll be too busy to care. If I had $1 for every time Ethan Carter made me feel small, I could probably buy his company and fire him. Unfortunately, I only had emotional damage and a dinner invitation I couldn't refuse. I stared at my reflection one last time before leaving. Silky black dress, minimal makeup, hair loose. No more overdone curls, no more perfume that could knock someone unconscious. Just me. Low-effort chic, I told the mirror, because that's what he deserves. By the time I reached the Carter penthouse, my nerves were screaming louder than Lily at a 50% sale. The butler let me in with a polite nod, the kind you reserve for people you've seen cry in this house before. And there he was. Ethan Carter. My fiancé. My ex-future heartbreak. He sat at the long dining table, scrolling through his phone like I was an unwanted email. Good evening, I said calmly, taking my seat. He looked up briefly. You're on time. Thank you. I'm trying something new. It's called punctuality and emotional detachment. His brow twitched barely, but I saw it. Old Celia would have panicked, laughed nervously, apologized for breathing wrong. New Celia took a sip of water like she owned the glass. He set his phone down. I hope you remember the charity gala tomorrow. My father expects us to attend together. Of course, I said smoothly. I'll behave. No scandals, no emotional outbursts, no gold digging, just good manners and great lighting. Ethan's fork paused midair. Are you being sarcastic? Maybe a little, I admitted. But don't worry, I'm in recovery. I've retired from dramatics. He stared at me for a moment, his usual unreadable expression faltering for just a second. You seem different. Well, dying tends to do that to a girl, I muttered under my breath. What? Nothing, I smiled. I just realized chasing you was exhausting. I'm saving my energy for world domination. His jaw tightened. You make it sound like I forced you to chase me. Did you stop me? I asked lightly. Exactly. Silence. The kind that stretched long enough for me to hear my own heartbeat. Steady, calm, nothing like the wild panic it used to be when I sat across from him. He looked away first. Small victory, but I'd take it. Dinner went on quietly. I didn't fawn, didn't talk too much, didn't try to fill the silence. I just existed. And it must have driven him insane, because halfway through, he finally said, You're unusually quiet tonight. I tilted my head. Would you prefer me crying or confessing again? I'm flexible. He exhaled sharply. That's not what I meant. I know, I said softly, setting my fork down. But I'm done being the Celia who lived for your attention, Ethan. You don't have to look at me like I'm some nuisance. I've already looked at myself that way once. Never again. He went still. His gaze darkened, not angry, but something I couldn't name. I stood up, slipping my purse over my shoulder. Thanks for dinner. See you at the gala. Celia, he said quietly as I reached the door. I turned. For the first time, his eyes weren't cold. They were searching. You really mean it, don't you? He asked. You're done with me. I smiled, calm, proud, a little sad. No, Ethan, I'm finally done losing myself for you. And then I walked away. Outside, my phone buzzed. A message from Lily. Lily, so, did you stab him with a salad fork or just emotionally traumatize him? Me, emotionally, it's classier. Lily, my queen-relieved face. I looked up at the night sky, the city lights twinkling like little chances at freedom. For the first time in a long time, my heart felt light. Tomorrow, I'd face the world and all their whispers as the new Celia Addams. Not the gold digger. Not the desperate fiancée. Just me. And this time, Ethan Carter would be the one left wondering. There are two kinds of people in high society. Those who attend charity galas to help others. And those who attend to politely destroy each other in designer gowns. Guess which group I used to belong to? I stared at my reflection one last time before stepping out of the car. Sleek red dress. Hair swept to one side, confidence turned up to 11. Lily, perched in the passenger seat, whistled. Girl, you look like Heartbreak with heels. Perfect, I said. Let's give them something to gossip about that isn't tragic for once. She grinned. If anyone asks about you and Ethan, what's the official statement? That I'm spiritually divorced, emotionally retired, and legally unavailable, I said sweetly. Lily almost choked on her champagne. You're insane. I love it. I stepped out of the car, the camera flashes starting immediately. They'd all expected me to cling to Ethan like I always did, the lovesick fiancé, the punchline of every whispered joke. But tonight, I wasn't that girl. Ethan was already inside, surrounded by his usual circle, investors, heirs, people who wore expensive watches but no personality. When his eyes met mine across the crowd, he paused mid-conversation. Oh, I saw it, that flicker of shock. Good. I smiled politely, waved to a few acquaintances, and started chatting with people I used to ignore. CEOs, designers, even his father. I laughed, I listened, I networked like my life depended on it. Because it did. This wasn't just a gala, it was my redemption arc in heels. And the best part, Ethan was watching. Every time I turned, I could feel his gaze sharp, assessing, almost curious. As if he was trying to figure out who I'd swapped bodies with. I excused myself to get a drink, only to find him waiting near the bar. "Good evening," I said, tone light, enjoying the party. "You've been busy," he replied. I learned that talking to other people doesn't cause spontaneous combustion. He looked at me, quiet for a beat. "You've changed." "Thank you for noticing," I said, sipping my champagne. "I call it personal growth. Most people just call it therapy." His lips almost curved, almost. "You seem happy." "I am," I said simply. "Turns out my entire personality wasn't built around chasing you. Who knew?" He blinked. "You're joking." "Oh, I joke when I'm nervous," I said. "But this isn't a joke. You don't have to keep your guard up, Ethan. I'm not here to beg for your attention." He frowned slightly, as if the idea didn't compute. "Then why are you here?" "Because the wine is good, and I look better in red than regret." That did it. His composure slipped for a second, not much, but enough. I smiled, finishing my glass. "Excuse me, I need to greet Mr. Lavigne from Astra Corp. He's been asking about our company's expansion plans." "Your father's company?" he asked. "Mine," I corrected softly. "I'm taking over the PR division. You'll probably read about it soon." Then I walked away before he could respond, heart racing with triumph and a dash of fear. Lily swooped in seconds later, eyes gleaming. "Oh my God, he's starring You Broke the Man." "I just stopped playing the fool," I whispered. She nudged me. "No, babe, you stopped orbiting him, and now he's realizing the sun was you all along." I laughed, but my chest felt tight. Because as much as I wanted to move on, part of me still remembered the way it felt to love him, stupidly, completely. But that Celia was gone. This one was learning how to shine on her own. When the event ended, I caught one last glimpse of Ethan, standing by the exit, eyes locked on me, expression unreadable. For the first time, he looked lost. Good, I thought, let him wonder. Because for once in my life, I wasn't chasing Ethan Carter. He was watching me walk away. The thing about reinventing yourself. People don't believe it's real until it's trending. 2 days after the gala, I was on the cover of a business magazine. Celia Addams, the fiancée who stole the spotlight. They meant it sarcastically, but I took it as a compliment. Lily sent me a screenshot with about 12 laughing emojis. "You broke the internet and your ex's ego. Iconic behavior." I grinned. Phase 1 achieved. "Phase 2, she asked. "Profit and peace, preferably without seeing Ethan Carter for a week." The universe heard me, and as always it said, LMAO no. Monday morning. I walked into the office with my iced coffee and my usual determination not to die before noon. And there he was. Ethan, in my office, sitting casually at my desk like it was his throne. "Good morning, Miss Addams," he said smoothly. "We're merging the PR and marketing teams for the joint project. I'll be overseeing it." I blinked. "You'll be what now?" "Overseeing," he repeated with the faintest smirk. "Is that going to be a problem?" "Oh, not at all," I said sweetly. "I thrive under unnecessary stress." His eyes gleamed. Good to know. The rest of the day was a master class in passive-aggressive professionalism. I led presentations. He asked just enough questions to make me want to throw a stapler at him. I smiled through every single one. At one point, during a meeting, our hands brushed when we both reached for the same file. Static, actual static. I pulled back instantly. "You can take it." "I thought you didn't give up so easily," he murmured, too low for anyone else to hear. I smiled thinly. "Not when it's worth fighting for." His gaze flicked to my lips. I ignored it. Mostly. Later that afternoon, as I stepped out of the elevator, I heard 2 interns whispering. "Is it true she dumped him?" "No, I heard she's just pretending. Classic gold digger move." I turned sharply, and they froze. "Careful," I said calmly. "Your gossip's showing." Then I smiled. "Next time you want to spread rumors, at least make them interesting. Maybe say I'm secretly running a diamond smuggling ring in Monaco." Their jaws dropped. I winked and walked away. Lily texted later. I heard about your intern intimidation moment. 10-10 queen energy. By evening, I was exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and from holding my tongue whenever Ethan smirked. So of course, fate decided to trap us together in the parking lot. It was raining, because of course it was. I was standing by my car, umbrella-less, trying to unlock the stupid door when his voice came from behind me. You'll catch a cold. Then at least I'll have a valid excuse to avoid tomorrow's meeting, I muttered. He stepped closer, holding out his umbrella. I'll walk you to your car. I'm already at my car. Then I'll make sure you get in safely. I stared at him. Ethan, this isn't a crime-ridden alley. It's a parking garage. Humor me, he said softly. For a moment, neither of us moved. The sound of rain filled the silence between us, too familiar, too heavy. Finally, I sighed. You don't have to act like you care. His jaw tightened. Maybe I do care. I froze. Don't not now. He looked at me for a long, unreadable second. You've really changed, Celia. I had to, I whispered. Dying tends to do that to a person. His eyes snapped up, confusion flickering there and maybe something else. Before he could ask, I slipped into my car and drove away. Heart pounding. Because for the first time since my rebirth, I wasn't sure who was falling this time, me or him. If there's one thing high society loves more than money, it's gossip. And I'd just become their favorite hobby. By Wednesday, the rumor mill had gone absolutely feral. Celia Addams, seen with mysterious man at La Mason. Carter fiancé moves on. Celia spotted laughing over wine, scandalous. The mysterious man was, in reality, my college friend Daniel, who had the emotional range of a spoon and a very public boyfriend. But of course, that part didn't make the headlines. Lily stormed into my office, phone in hand. Baby, the internet has declared you single, savage, and scandalous. Thoughts? I sipped my coffee. About time, my public image was getting too saintly. She flopped into the chair. Ethan's PR team is apparently panicking. Something about protecting corporate reputation and mitigating tabloid damage. I grinned. Oh no, how terrible. An hour later, I found out exactly how terrible when Ethan himself appeared in my doorway, looking like a thundercloud in Armani. He shut the door behind him. Celia, what the hell are these articles? I blinked innocently. You'll have to be more specific. There are so many. You were seen with another man. Correct. And you didn't think that would cause a problem. Why would it? I'm not exactly under contract to behave like your shadow anymore. His jaw clenched. You're still my fiancé. I leaned back in my chair. Technically, but you made it clear a long time ago that this engagement means nothing to you. That's not, he stopped, exhaled sharply. You're doing this to provoke me. I gave him a small smile. Maybe I'm just living my life, Ethan. That's what normal people do when they stop chasing someone who doesn't want them. His gaze darkened. He touched your hand in that picture. I stared. Oh my God, are you jealous? He froze. No. Then, why do you sound like you're about to file a police report over a handshake? He glared, then scrubbed a hand through his hair, the first real crack in his perfect composure I'd seen all day. You're infuriating. I've been called worse, I said lightly. His eyes flicked down to my lips. I'm starting to understand why. My breath caught, but I forced a smirk. Careful, you almost sounded like you liked me for a second there. He stepped closer, way too close. Maybe I never stopped. And just like that, my heart betrayed me, racing like it used to, back before the crash, before everything shattered. But I wasn't that Celia anymore. So I smiled sweetly and said, well, that's a shame. I stopped waiting. Then I brushed past him, leaving the scent of my perfume, and hopefully a fraction of regret in my wake. Later that night, Lily called while I was curled up on my couch, trying to ignore the thunderstorm outside. Update, she said. Ethan was asked about the rumors during a press conference. I groaned. Please tell me he didn't. Oh, he did, she said gleefully. He said, and I quote, "Miss Addams can spend time with whoever she pleases. Our relationship is complicated." I buried my face in a pillow. Us, complicated. That's PR code for we're emotionally constipated. Lily cackled. You two are literally the plot of every angsty billionaire drama ever. I sighed. Yeah, except this time I'm not the girl crying in the rain. I'm the one driving away before the credits roll. But as thunder rumbled outside and the rain started hitting my window, I wondered. Why did it still feel like I was standing in the middle of the storm? Corporate retreats are supposed to promote teamwork. Translation: rich people pretending to be normal for 3 days while secretly plotting to one-up each other. When my father's company got invited to a joint business retreat, hosted by none other than Carter Holdings, I laughed for 5 full minutes. The universe clearly needed new hobbies. Lily, who was coming as my assistant, was delighted. Oh, this is going to be so entertaining. Do you think Ethan will survive the sight of you in a swimsuit? I think he'll spontaneously combust, I said dryly. Let's hope it's televised. The retreat was held at a 5-star resort on the coast. White sand, infinity pools, champagne fountains, and enough fake smiles to power the entire city. I checked in, grabbed my keycard, and froze. Room 807. Shared villa. With Ethan Carter. I turned to the staff. There must be a mistake. No mistake, Miss Addams, the receptionist said cheerfully. You and Mr. Carter were listed as an engaged couple. The system automatically. Of course it did, I muttered. Perfect, I love this for me. When I entered the villa, Ethan was already there, tie gone, sleeves rolled up, the image of calm irritation. I tried to change the arrangement, he said flatly. They're fully booked. Great, then I'll sleep outside with the seagulls. You're being dramatic. You're being you, which is worse. He sighed. Fine, I'll take the couch. You'll fit perfectly there, I said sweetly. His lips twitched, and for a second something dangerously close to a smile flickered. You never stop. I'm consistent. The first day passed with too many team-building events and too much forced proximity. Everywhere I turned, Ethan. Every time I tried to breathe, Ethan. During dinner, he sat beside me. During presentations, across from me. During the beach walk activity, paired with me. By evening, I was ready to strangle whoever designed the schedule. So when I escaped to the villa balcony that night, barefoot with a glass of wine, I didn't expect him to follow. But of course he did. You've been avoiding me, he said quietly. Not avoiding, I said, just actively choosing peace. He leaned against the railing, eyes glinting in the moonlight. And does peace include laughing with Daniel over dinner? I groaned. Oh my God, are we doing this again? Answer the question. He told a joke. You don't own my laughter, Ethan. He was silent for a moment, jaw tight. Then, softer. I don't like seeing you with him. Why? I asked. Because I'm supposed to stay miserable after you decided I wasn't worth trusting. That's not fair. No, I cut in. What wasn't fair was you deciding who I was without ever asking me. Silence heavy, tense. Then he said it, voice low, raw. I made a mistake. My heart stuttered. You think. I thought you were after my family's name, my money. I was after your attention, I snapped. I was stupid, not greedy. He stepped closer, and I hated how my breath hitched. Celia, he said softly, you're not stupid. Maybe not anymore. He reached out, like he wanted to touch me, then stopped, his hand hovering an inch from my arm. I keep seeing you, he murmured. Everywhere, laughing, working, walking away from me, and I can't. He stopped. Shook his head. I can't ignore it anymore. I swallowed hard. Then don't. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. The tension was thick enough to choke on, his breath mingling with mine, eyes locked like gravity itself had a vendetta. Then Lily's voice echoed faintly from inside. Celia, the Wi-Fi's down again. I exhaled shakily, stepping back. Saved by technology. Thanks, universe. He gave a quiet, strained laugh, the kind that hurt to hear. This isn't over, he said. Good, I replied, setting my wine down. I'm getting tired of running. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the look on his face, the one that wasn't cold or angry or distant. It was something far more dangerous. Regret. And maybe something that felt like love. But I wasn't ready to trust that yet. Not when I'd already died once chasing it. I spent the night pretending to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him on that balcony, the look in his eyes right before he'd said this isn't over. He was right. By morning, I was a disaster wrapped in a silk blouse. The retreat schedule said team sailing exercise. Whoever planned that clearly hated me. Half an hour later, I was on a yacht, wind whipping through my hair, pretending to care about marketing strategies while Ethan stood at the other end of the deck looking like sin in sunlight. Lily caught my eye from across the deck and mouthed, "Don't push him off the boat." No promises. When the event finally ended, everyone dispersed. Everyone except him. Celia. His voice, low, controlled, found me as I headed toward the villa. I didn't turn. If this is about the Q3 projections. It's not. He closed the distance between us. You've been avoiding me. Congratulations, you noticed. I can't talk to you when you run every time I try to. To what, Ethan? Redeem yourself, rewrite history. He flinched like I'd hit him. I said I was wrong. You said that last night, I snapped, but saying sorry doesn't unbreak someone. He stepped closer, then tell me how to fix it. You can't. I finally looked up at him, fury burning behind my eyes. You can't erase the way you looked at me like I was cheap, like loving you made me pathetic. The words hung there, sharp and raw. His jaw tightened. Then he reached out, fingers brushing my wrist. Don't, I whispered. He didn't listen. His hand slid up my arm, slow, tentative, like he was touching something fragile. I never thought you were cheap, he said hoarsely. I thought you were too good, and that scared the hell out of me. My laugh cracked. You've got a terrible way of showing admiration. I know, his voice broke on the words, but when I see you now, I can't look away. I tried to pull back, but his grip tightened just enough to keep me there. Let go. No. The fight drained out of me and turned into something heavier, all that hurt curdling into want. You make me crazy, I breathed. He smiled faintly, eyes dark. You started it. And then I kissed him, or maybe he kissed me. I don't remember who moved first. All I know is the world tilted. It wasn't soft, it wasn't careful. It was years of confusion and pain and love, colliding in one impossible heartbeat. His hands framed my face like he was afraid I'd vanish. Mine curled into his shirt, dragging him closer, until breathing felt optional. When we finally broke apart, both of us were shaking. He rested his forehead against mine. This changes everything. I whispered, it was already changing. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was alive. The kind of silence that dares you to see what comes next. Lily's texts were waiting for me before I even finished brushing my hair. Lily, girl, explain the smoke I saw in your eyes last night. Lily, you kissed him, didn't you? Lily, if you lie, I will manifest bad eyeliner for you for a week. I almost dropped my phone into the sink. I did not, I muttered. Then, quieter, okay, maybe I did. The mirror didn't help. My reflection looked far too smug for a woman planning to act like nothing happened. New day, I told myself. New life, no disasters. Except disasters apparently had Ethan Carter's jawline and a bad habit of showing up unannounced. By the time I reached the office, my plan was simple. Work, breathe, and avoid Ethan like he was a limited edition plague. I even brought coffee for my team as camouflage for my nerves. But the universe has a wicked sense of humor. Because 5 minutes into my morning, my assistant cleared her throat. Mr. Carter is here to see you. Of course he was. I looked up, and there he was in the doorway, dark suit, unreadable eyes, that cool authority that made people forget how to speak. Only I remembered the way his mouth had felt last night. My heart skipped so hard it practically tripped over itself. "Ethan," I said, tone business casual, soul panic. "Did you need something?" He stepped inside and closed the door, clicked it shut. "We need to talk." His voice was calm, too calm. That tone men use right before they say something they'll regret. "I'm busy," I said, staring fiercely at a stack of papers that had definitely done nothing wrong. He walked closer. "You've been avoiding me." "Have not." "Celia." The way he said my name, it wasn't a word, it was a warning. I swallowed hard. "About last night," I began. "About last night," he interrupted. "You kissed me." My cheeks caught fire. "Correction, we kissed. Physics, proximity, gravity, pick your villain." His jaw tightened. "You act like it meant nothing." "Because it didn't," I lied, and it sounded so pathetic even the air conditioning stopped humming to judge me. Ethan's hand pressed against my desk as he leaned forward, lowering his head until we were eye to eye. "Then why can't I stop thinking about it?" That line hit like a match to gasoline. I felt the air shift, charged and dangerous. I tried to laugh. "Maybe you're concussed." He didn't move. His gaze flicked to my lips, then back to my eyes, and suddenly I was 16 again. Hopeless, heart racing, trying to pretend I didn't want the impossible. "You shouldn't look at me like that," I whispered. "Like what?" "Like you might do it again." He exhaled, low and shaky, and for a heartbeat I thought he'd step back. But Ethan Carter was never good at retreat. "Tell me to stop," he said softly. My pulse thundered. "You wouldn't listen." He smiled, slow, dangerous. "Try me." I didn't. The space between us vanished, and the world went silent except for the sound of my own breath catching. His hand slid to the back of my chair, his forehead barely touching mine. It wasn't a question. It was inevitability. When his lips met mine, it wasn't gentle. It was all the frustration, the longing, the things we'd never dared to say. The kiss stole every ounce of composure I'd fought for. And then, just as my heart remembered how to beat, I pulled back, because if I didn't, I might never stop. We stared at each other, both breathing too fast. His thumb brushed my jaw in quiet disbelief. "I told myself you were just after the money," he said hoarsely. "But I was wrong, was I?" I managed a shaky smile. "Took you long enough to notice." Outside, someone knocked once before realizing the door was locked and wisely retreating. Inside, I sat there with Ethan still inches away, realizing that denial might not survive another day in this office. And for once, I wasn't sure I wanted it to. The silence after that kiss was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Ethan stood so close I could count his heartbeats, steady, controlled, like he was trying not to shatter. I broke the stillness first. "You shouldn't have done that." He gave a quiet laugh, more breath than sound. "You kissed me back." I looked away, my pulse still reckless. "You think everything's about winning, don't you? Even this." "Maybe I just don't like losing you." His voice was soft but heavy with the truth neither of us wanted to touch. My throat tightened. "You never had me, Ethan, not really." He stepped forward. "Don't lie, Celia. You've been under my skin for years. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was nothing, that you were after money, status, anything but me." "That was convenient, wasn't it?" I said bitterly. "Believing I was the villain, easier than asking why I kept trying." His eyes darkened. "Why did you?" "Because in another life, you never looked at me this way. Because in another life, I died still loving you." But I didn't say that. I just whispered, "Because I was stupid." Ethan's hand caught my wrist before I could turn away. "You were never stupid. I was. I saw everything you did for me, and I called it obsession instead of love." Something cracked open in my chest. Old pain, new hope, tangled so tightly I couldn't tell one from the other. "You're saying this now?" I asked. "After everything?" "I'm saying it because pretending I don't care isn't working anymore." He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. You drive me insane, Celia. You argue, you tease, you act like you don't care, but the thought of you walking away, I can't stand it. My heart forgot how to defend itself. He came closer again, slower this time, searching my face. Tell me I'm imagining it. Tell me you don't feel this too. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, only the ache of everything I'd buried. Ethan cupped my cheek, thumb tracing the edge of my jaw. Say it, he whispered. I can't, I breathed. And that was all the answer he needed. When his lips met mine again, it wasn't rushed. It was deliberate, aching, a confession neither of us had the courage to voice. My hands curled in his shirt, his other arm wrapped around my waist like he was terrified I'd vanish if he let go. For a moment, the world narrowed to just this. His heartbeat, my breath, the warmth that had always been there between us, waiting. When we finally broke apart, my head rested against his chest. This changes everything, I murmured. He smiled faintly against my hair. Good, I was tired of pretending nothing had changed. Later, when he left my office, I sat back down at my desk, dazed, lips tingling, heart doing its own interpretive dance. Lily texted again, right on cue. Lily, update. Did you fix your love life or burn it to the ground? I grinned. Me, both. And maybe, just maybe, for once I was okay with that.